Okay, so I'm out here with a couple of C8 flashlights. So anybody in the budget world of flashlights and torches will be familiar with the C8. It's a really nice torch. They've got quite a large deep reflector, about the size of a D-cell mag light, but with an 18650 body. It makes them extremely pocketable, coat pocket rather than jeans pocket, but due to the relatively large reflector, it means you can get quite a throwy light out of them. And I've actually got 3 of these with me tonight, 2 Convoys and Astrolux. So I thought I'd just do a little bit of a comparison and sort of show you what these can do. This particular one was actually a host, so it was bought without an LED or a driver, and it's currently running the BLF A6, or I think it's known as a 17DD driver. So it's direct drive on turbo mode, and then got about 6 or 7 different brightness modes on it as well. And we're actually sporting rather rare, I think these days, XP-G3. I originally built it with an XP-G2, but changed it to an XP-G3. So let's have a little look and see what this thing will do. So we'll kick off with the XP-G3 on turbo, and you can see it really is throwing beam out there really well. I think it was a neutral white tint. I can't quite remember the exact tint bin that I picked, but it really is quite an impressive little light, and up close it's quite nice. It's got a central hotspot, but it has got a bit of a corona around it. You can just see it on the camera there. Out here in the open with the naked eye, it's actually really nice. It just sort of creates a larger sort of central beam profile. But if you are white wall hunting or using it indoors, I do find that corona is actually quite visibly a different tint, and it really bugs me. But I've got quite a good spill beam on this as well. It is quite bright, but yeah, just look at how that reaches out there to these trees, and as we go down the line there, you know, it's still shining that stuff. It's really quite an impressive little light. And of course with this driver in here, we've got a whole host of different modes as well. We can dim this thing right down to a proper sort of moonlight mode as well, which is, you know, really low. But that's not really the point of a C8. It's the fact that it's actually a cracking outdoor light, that really just does light up stuff really well, and gives you quite a nice sort of almost a classic mag light kind of a beam profile with lots of throw and a good central hotspot. Although I think XPG LEDs are kind of rare in these, unless you build them yourself. I think most of the C8s come with an XML2, or maybe if you're lucky you'll find one with an XPL HI. I imagine an XPL HI would perform very similar to this. In theory you'd have slightly more lumens, so probably a slightly bigger hotspot, but I would imagine a very similar amount of throw. Of course I could have kept the XPG2 in here and de-domed it for even more throw, but I didn't do that. So the next C8 I've got to try out here, again this is another Convoy. It was also a host, so again bought without a driver or an LED. This one is actually running a Nichia 219. I think it's a 219B, not the latest Cs, but I built this quite a while ago now and I can't quite remember. And I'm also running this direct drive, so there's no driver in here at all. I've just got a 17mm board with the contacts and the spring on there. So it's a little bit of a hot rodded Nichia, because you don't normally run them this hot. I think on the multimeter we're pulling well over 3 amps at the tail cap with this thing, but it is a bit battery sensitive. Once the battery voltage drops, you do notice that the light doesn't perform anywhere near as well, whereas the lights of the drivers tend to be a little bit more stable. But this was just built as a bit of fun really. So with the Nichia, it's not bad. It's not bad. I don't think it performs as well as the XPG3 or even the XPT2 that I had in there previously. It's not far off it though. We've got some reasonable throw. I think the spill beam perhaps isn't quite so bright. but it, you know, it's not a bad comparison. Tint wise or CRI wise, the Nichia should have the advantage, and we certainly don't get the horrible corona around the hotspot. And the colours do look really good out here. See if I can fire up both sort of side by side. Get them both on the camera, can we? Yeah, so we've got the Nichia on the left and the XP-G3 on the right. So I think the XPG just about outperforms it, but are actually a lot closer than you'd perhaps give credit. So yeah, you can see we've got a slightly bigger hotspot on the XPG3 as well. But yeah, a bit of fun. So I think there is actually more light coming out of this thing than the camera perhaps alludes to. You know, I can see nearly the entire top of the tree quite well lit up with the eye. On the camera it is it's not lighting the whole thing up as well. So the final C8 I wanted to show you tonight, this I've only just received, it came today. This is actually an Astrolux C8, although exterior wise, apart from the colour, it looks to be pretty much identical to the Convoy versions. This too is running the BLF A6 driver, but the big difference is we've got a XHP50 LED tucked down in there, and the other two C8s had got orange peel reflectors. This one you can't really see on the camera, but it's not quite a smooth reflector. I would perhaps say mildly stippled reflector. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what this is. This is a cool white light. They didn't have any of the other colour temps in stock when I ordered. I think it's actually 6,500, which is something I wouldn't normally buy. But we'll fire it up and have a look. So this has also got a moonlight mode, and at the moment I've got it so it starts on low, whereas the XPG3 light, I've got it so it comes onto high. I think I must have the memory mode activated. I haven't quite remembered how to do it yet on this one, but we'll go straight to turbo. And I mean, this thing is really impressive. We've got a huge beam. It's just lighting up absolutely everything. It is cool white. You know, there's no denying that the greens and the browns to the human eye anyhow are being a bit bleached out and becoming grey. The camera white balance does correct that very well, but we've got a really bright spill beam, and it is just an absolute shed ton of light coming out of this thing. Just stepped down there, so I should go just click it back up to turbo. And amazingly, you know, I think with enough lumens you can get the distance as well. This thing definitely throws a beam as well as the XPG3 is. I think it does run a little bit warmer, although it's not getting that hot. It's, you know, I can only just feel the heat starting to build up in it now. This thing is very impressive. The spill beam is super bright on it, and it's got a really good beam profile. Right, so just as a quick comparison, I've got two torches on. The right hand beam, so on the big tree, that's the XPG3, and then we've got the XHP50. I think as you move down the line, you're going to be able to see that this thing is just, it's just a monster. I think the XPG3 might just have the slight edge at really far distance, but there's not a lot in it, to be honest. There really isn't. Difficult to see the two beams there on the screen, but yeah, so much more light from the XHP50. I have to say I'm really quite impressed by it.